Hello there and welcome. In the previous episodes, we worked on adding zombies into our game and adding other things like effects and player damage, but at this point there is still no real challenge. We want to add some kind of goal to this demo game. So in this episode, we're going to create a zombie spawner. This will allow us to spawn more zombies and control the location they will spawn at. It will also allow us to control the amount of zombies to spawn and even the frequency of spawns. So the spawner will be very customizable. With this, we're going to create waves of zombies that the player has to clear to survive. But you can also use the spawner in other ways, for example, creating a zombie nest that spawns zombies in your map or something like that. So for now, we're going to leave this zombie over here, but we want to add some kind of zombie spawner to our map. So I'm going to decide to place it over here behind these containers, so each time the zombies will spawn, we're not going to actually see the spawn, but they will simply come and start walking towards us. So we're going to create a new empty object and we're going to name it zombie spawner. Inside, we're going to create some kind of cube just so we know where this object is located and we can see it. And then we're going to position it over here. So this will be the spot where the zombies are going to spawn. And of course, make sure that it touches the ground so the nav agent will actually be instantiated properly. Now we're going to select the zombie spawner and we're going to add a new script on this object. We're going to name it zombie spawn controller. Inside the script, we're going to add a few variables to be able to customize our spawner. So we're going to have different variables. We're going to have the amount of zombies we have per wave. So each time we're going to increase it. So each wave we're going to get more and more zombies. So the initial will be 5, but of course you can change it. We're also going to have some kind of delay between the spawnings because we don't want all of the zombies to just spawn together. So if we have 5 zombies, they're going to spawn one by one, but there will be a delay between each zombie. So this is not a delay between the waves, it's the delay between the spawnings. Then we also have a counter for the current wave, and we also have a cooldown between each wave. So when the wave is finished, the player will have time to pick up more ammo and heal itself or something like that, and then the next wave will start. So you can customize this, you can make it longer. Then we also have a boolean that will let us know if we are in this cooldown, and we have a counter and we're going to use it to display it on the UI so the player will know when the next wave is starting. Then we're going to have a list of enemies, and this will keep track of all the zombies we still have in our scene, and this way we can know when the wave is over and how many zombies we have left. Next, we're going to add a start method. And we want to set the current zombies per wave to be the initial zombies per wave, because this will be the initial amount when we just start the game. And then we want to start the next wave. Of course, this will immediately start the wave when we start the game, but you can have some kind of condition. If you don't want this to start immediately, maybe only when you press some kind of button or when a certain event happens in your game. But we're going to start it right away for the demonstration. Then we're going to generate this method. Inside, we're going to clear the current zombies alive list. We're going to increase the current wave by 1, and we're also going to start a coroutine that will actually be the spawning of the zombies. So each time we start a new wave, we're going to loop over all the zombies per wave. So if we have 5 zombies for this wave, we're going to do all of this 5 times. Then we're going to create some kind of offset so the zombies don't just spawn on one another. And then we're going to generate the spawn position based on the position of this spawner, and we're going to add the offset to it. Then we're also going to instantiate the zombie itself, so we need to create a reference to this zombie prefab. So at the top we're going to add public game object zombie prefab, and we're going to instantiate it in the spawn position. Then we're also going to keep a reference for the zombie, and then we're also going to get the enemy script from the zombie. Then we're going to have a reference to this enemy script, and we're going to add it to this current zombies alive list so we can keep track of the amount of zombies we have left. And not only the amount, but the actual zombies we have left. So when one of these zombies is going to die, we're going to know that he is dead, and we're going to remove it from this list. Then we're going to have this delay, and this is based on the spawn delay. So it's this spawn delay between each zombie, and then we're going to simply do this again and again until all the zombies are spawned. Next, we're going to create the update method, and inside we want to do several other things. So let's go over this update method. First of all, we're going to get all the dead zombies. So we simply create an empty list that will be named zombies to remove. Then we're going to loop over all the zombies alive, and we're going to check if the zombie is dead. Then we're going to add it to this list to remove. Now, if you ask why we don't simply remove it over here, and that's just because we cannot change this list while we loop over it, because it's going to give us an error. So we first need to add all of these zombies to remove into this new list, and only then we're going to loop over this new list and remove all the zombies. So after we added all the dead zombies, we're going to loop over this zombies to remove list, and we're going to actually remove these dead zombies. Then we're also going to clear the zombies to remove list, and then we're going to just wait for the next frame to see if more zombies are dead. Then if all the zombies are actually dead, if the count is 0, and if we're not in cooldown, then we're going to start a coroutine that will be the actual cooldown. Of course, this should be a capital letter, and we can also generate this method. And also we want to actually run the cooldown counter that we're going to display on the UI. So each frame that we are in cooldown, we want to reduce 1 second out of the counter. And if we're not in cooldown, then we're simply going to reset the counter. Now inside this wave cooldown, of course it will be an enumerator again. So first of all, we're going to say that we are in cooldown. We're going to actually create the delay right now. And then after this amount of seconds have passed, we're going to say that we are no longer in cooldown. Then what we want to do is, when the cooldown is over, we also want to increase the amount of zombies per wave. So current zombies per wave, and we're going to multiply it by 2. So now the current wave will be times 2, and we're going to set it to be the new current zombies per wave. So if the initial was 5 zombies per wave, so the next wave will simply multiply it by 2, and we're going to have 10 zombies. Then the third wave, we're going to multiply it by 2 again, and we're going to have 20 zombies. So this way you can increase the amount of zombies per wave, or if you don't want to increase the amount of zombies per wave, you just want it to always be the same amount, you can change this to be 1, so it will always multiplied by itself and there will be no increase. Now of course you can create a variable out of this so it will not be hard-coded, and then you can just change it over here. Then after all of this is done, we're going to start the next wave. Now we can save this, and what we need to do right now is just create a prefab out of our zombie. So we're going to take the zombie in our scene and we're going to drag it into our prefabs. And now it became a prefab, and now we can delete the zombie from the scene. Next, we want to click on the zombie spawner and drag the zombie prefab into the zombie prefab slot. Over here, we don't need to touch anything, but you can look at this to see how everything is working. Of course, when new zombies are going to spawn, it's going to fill up this list and the counter is going to run. So this is mainly for debugging. We don't need to add anything over here. So we can see that these zombies were spawned over here. And now we have 5 zombies. We can also see it inside this list. And later we're also going to increase the range for the zombies to actually start running at our player as soon as they spawn, because right now they just walk around. And if right now I'm going to kill all of them, it will trigger the next wave. But for now, let's just close the game and add the UI for the counter. So inside the UI, we're going to find one of these canvases, or maybe just create it over here. We're going to have a new UI, Text Mesh Pro. We're going to change the font to be this one, and we're going to increase it a bit. We're also going to change the size. We're going to position it in the middle of the screen. And over here we can say something like wave is over. Prepare for the next wave. Maybe we can make it a bit smaller. And then we can also create another text UI. And we're going to place it under this one. And this will be the counter. So it's going to be something like that. We can also change the font. We can increase it a bit, make it a bit bigger. And place it over here. And we can also drag this one into this one, so it will be always together. Now inside the zombie spawn controller, we can add these references. So we have a public Of course, we need to add this package. And we want to use Text Mesh Pro UGUI. So now we are going to click on the zombie spawner and we're going to add this wave over UI. And we're also going to drag this counter over here. We can also rename this to be counter and title. So now back inside the zombie spawner, we want to actually display the UI. So inside the wave cooldown, when we start the cooldown, we can just say wave over UI. And we're going to display this UI. And when it's over, we are going to close it. And over here, we're simply going to set the UI to be the same as the cooldown counter. So cooldown counter UI text will be the cooldown counter to string. Now this may not be the best format, but we can change it later after we see how it looks. So now we're going to disable this and we are going to start the game and we're going to see how it looks. So now let's pick up a weapon, let's pick up some ammo, and let's go kill these zombies. Now you can see that the UI is shown. Of course, the counter doesn't look good, but we're going to change this. And now when the counter is reaching 0, we're going to get more zombies, and this time we're going to get 10 zombies. Now, of course, the editor will start to freeze and lag, and that's just because there's a lot of information here. But when you actually build the game and run it on your PC, then it's going to be much better. So now over here, because we don't want this to show the decimal point because it doesn't look good, we can do a trick. We just add over here these two brackets and we type in F and then 0. And this will simply cut out all the decimal digits. So now if we kill these zombies, you can see a much cleaner counter. And of course, this is not a tutorial about making great UIs, but you get the point. The next thing I want to do is add some kind of counter so we know what is the wave. So we're going to add wave number and we're going to change the font. We're going to increase it a bit and we're going to position it over here. Maybe even anchor it and then position it. Or we can even set it over here in the middle. And in the beginning it will be wave 1, but then we go into the script and over here when we start the next wave, we're simply going to increase the wave and we're going to change the UI. So current wave UI, and we need to create this text equals to wave current wave to string. So let's create this reference, current wave UI. And now we're simply going to change the text to be wave and the number of the current wave. So back inside, we're going to drag this wave number into the current wave UI. And of course, we want to disable this UI over here, and let's start the game. And now let's just pick up a weapon, some ammo. Let's go kill the zombies. And the last one. And we can see wave number 2. Of course, you can add some dramatic music for the beginning of the wave. Maybe you can have more text that will tell the player, go arm yourself. So it's really up to you to decide what will happen at every point of the game. Now we also want the zombies to start running at us when they spawn. We don't want them to just walk around. Of course, in your game, maybe it's not the case. Maybe you want to have some kind of nest that the zombies come out of at night, so you can just tell them to patrol the area. But in our case, we have some kind of arcade game, so we want the zombies to start running at us because it's a wave-based game. So for this, we're simply going to increase the range of the zombie. So inside the idle and patrolling scripts that we have, if we go into our zombie and we go to the animator, let's just move this over here. We have the idle state and we can see the detection area, and we also have the chase state. So we have, let's see, patrolling, detection area. So when it sees the player inside this area, it will start chasing it. The same way, if it sees the player inside this area, it's going to start chasing it. And we can also see this area by the gizmos that we added. For now, they're disabled, I think, and we don't have the zombies, but we can also see it using the gizmos. So now we're simply going to increase the size of it. For reference, we can add a zombie into the scene. Where's the zombie spawner? Let's add a zombie into the scene. Let's enable the gizmos and we can see that we have this area, but that's not the detection area. For the detection area, we are going to open our enemy script, and over here we have the gizmos. So for this is the detection, start chasing, and we're going to change it to be 18. And we zoom out, we can see this blue outline, so this is the detection area. The green one is the stopping chasing, so when the player is out of this area, it will stop chasing it. But we want to increase this area, so when the zombie spawns over here, it will go immediately and run at the player. So we're going to increase this area to something like 100, and we're going to save this. And now we can see that it's much bigger. Now we don't want him to run at the player. Well, let's just leave it this way, but we can see that it's going to run at the player and doesn't matter where it stands at. And it's very important that the stop chasing is higher than this area. Otherwise, it's going to give us errors. So we're going to increase this one to 101. So it will be just a bit more. But it's not relevant because it will never actually happen and it will always chase after the player in our case. But this is just for the gizmos. This is not the actual code, right? It doesn't change anything. We need to add these values into the actual scripts. So we're going to open this. Of course, the zombie should be selected. And inside the idle state, we're going to change the detection area to be 100. And inside the patrolling state, we're going to change the detection area to 100. And then inside the chase state, we're going to change the stop chasing distance to 101. As I told you, it should be higher than the detection area. So if this is 100, this should be at least 101. So we're going to save this. And now when we start the game, the zombies will start running at us when they spawn. So let's go over here and we can see that they're running at us even if we're not near them. And of course I'm going to die because I did not take my pistols. And we see this step over here. So there is this glitch that they just go into the ground and you can see them clipping to the ground. But that's just because I created this step over here and I did not add this information into the agents. But that's not important. This is not the point of this tutorial. So that's all for this episode. At this point, you can simply create this zombie spawner. Let's just remove the zombie. We have the zombie spawner, and you can place these zombie spawners anywhere in your game. Maybe if you have some kind of cave for zombies, then just place the zombie spawner inside the cave. So you need to play around with this. You can also change the wave cooldown. And this is the way we're creating these zombie spawners. In the next episode, we are going to deal with the main menu and the saving of the game. There's actually not much to save over here because we don't have any kind of progress, we only have these waves, but we're going to create some kind of high score of how many waves the player survived. So we're going to save the high score, and then people can compete one against another to see who survived the most and brag about the number. So all of this will happen in the next episode. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe. Please leave a like, and I'll see you next time.